Spectrum News app.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. As we reported before the break, thousands of Haitian migrants have been traveling to the U.S. southern border in hopes of refuge as the Biden administration undertakes mass deportation efforts. Images of people living in squalor at the border and footage of Border Patrol agents confronting migrants on horseback have sparked public outrage by immigration advocates and by lawmakers. Joining me now to talk more about this are two lawmakers who are calling for urgent action. Brooklyn City Councilwoman Farah Lewis is coming to us from Texas. She just visited the border with a delegation of New York lawmakers, and Assemblymember Rodneyse Bichotte Hermelyn, who represents parts of Flatbush, Ditmas Park, and Midwood in Brooklyn, is also joining us tonight. Thank you both for joining us, and let me begin with you, Councilwoman. You are in Texas. Tell us a little bit about this trip. How long have you been there? Who is part of your delegation, and what have you gotten to see so far?
Well, thank you so much for having me on today. We actually landed today in Texas. We're currently in Del Rio, Texas, and I'm here with Councilmember-elect Rita Joseph from the 40th District and Keith White from Christian Cultural Center. He's also a social justice activist. We came with a delegation from New York City in hopes to support the NGOs and organizations here in Texas providing support to asylum seekers that are Haitian nationals and providing any support however we can.
Now, Del Rio is, of course, where that encampment with thousands of Haitian refugees. We've seen images of that. We've seen those images of Border Patrol agents on horseback acting aggressively toward refugees. You haven't gotten a chance to visit that particular location yet, have you?
We're actually here. We're about to enter now. Myself, Keith, and Councilmember-elect Joseph are about to go in. We're waiting for ICE reps to allow us to go through so we can get a better picture of what's happening on the ground with some of the folks that are under the bridge, people that are just camping out, as well as people that are being processed but are not at a place where they can move forward. Our goal here today is to support some of those folks to get to their respective destinations, whether it's to meet with family members, sponsors, and we're actually looking for families to host people that don't have anywhere to go.
Right, and in terms of the policy, you know, the Biden administration is, as we said, undertaking mass deportations. There have been planes carrying refugees from the U.S. back to Haiti. From your perspective, what do you think the right policy here is? Some would argue that granting asylum to many of these refugees would only encourage more to come and could potentially exacerbate the situation.
Definitely humanitarian parole. To end Title 42, it's not a common sense policy. And most importantly, just to allow due process. I think we've said this over and over and over again on every platform. It's just the wrong thing to do to move forward with Title 42. But we've been asking for political asylum for Haitian nationals. We've all been seeing in the press the things that have been going on in Haiti. But I just want to remind people that are watching today, a lot of these Haitian nationals did not come directly from Haiti. They came from Brazil, they came from Chile, and they came from Panama. And to send them back is unconscionable. To send them back is unfair. It's disrespectful. So, you know, we're going to keep doubling down and working hard and pushing back against the administration. These folks need asylum, and we want them to have it here.
All right, Councilwoman Lewis, we are going to let you go. Thank you for making time for us in the middle of your trip. We will talk to you again after your trip is complete to hear more about what you saw.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, and Assemblywoman, let me bring you in now. Both of you represent Brooklyn, and you are two of the only Haitian-American elected officials in New York. Tell us what you're hearing from constituents and from others in the Haitian-American community in Brooklyn. Have you heard from any with ties, who have direct ties to some of the refugees at the border?
First, I would like to say, and thank you so much, Bobby, for having me on board. We do represent the largest Haitian population in the state of New York. So parts of Flatbush, Brooklyn is Little Haiti. So Councilwoman Farah Lewis and I have been working diligently in responding to our constituents, to those who may have connections and families who are part of the mission, the Haitian migrants who are traveling from continent to continent. But I have to say that, you know, there's an outrage, not only from the Haitian community, the greater community, people from all over. As you heard today, we learned that Daniel Foote, a high-level diplomat who was appointed special envoy to Haiti in July, resigned in the wake of disturbing news of the deportation and humanitarian abuses at the Texas border. And he said that, "I will not associate myself with the United States' inhumane, counterproductive decision to deport thousands of Haitian refugees." So this is a person who was appointed by the Biden administration, and he's outraged. And he resigned. In addition to that, the Congressional Black Caucus had met with the Biden administration demanding a moratorium on the deportation to Haiti. So, you know, I think everyone all over the nation is outraged at, you know, having to see these men on horseback using their reins to whip Black Haitian migrants like slaves earlier this week. And I have to say, it felt like we were watching the Jim Crow era. These kind of behaviors certainly unacceptable in a nation that prides itself on freedom. So, you know, we as elected officials have been speaking out, saying that Haiti is not in a condition to accept anybody, to accept Haitian migrants. I mean, that was the whole purpose of leaving Haiti to begin with. They're looking for a better place. They're looking for refuge, and to turn around and to deport these people who's been traveling for months back to a situation where it's just going to be even worse for them. A country that is still going through so many challenges after the assassination of a president, after a 7.2 magnitude earthquake, tropical storm, COVID-19, insecurity in terms of the government, food insecurity. I mean, all of these ramifications, also from the 2010 earthquake, leaving 200,000 people dead, have been a big effect on Haiti, and having to send people back to Haiti right now is just inhumane. So I was really happy to see our elected officials, Councilmember Farah Lewis, Councilwoman-elect Rita Joseph, and a number of us on the ground providing humanitarian aid. We also have a number of us who are working on the legal front, working with the American Civil Liberty Union, in terms of appealing the stay that the Judge Sullivan had ruled. He ruled that it was unconstitutional in terms of the Title 42, which is a mandate under the Trump era that was put in place to not allow people to stay if they were threatening the public health of the general public. These people have not been tested. So to use Title 14 or misuse Title 14, again, is wrong and unconstitutional. However, Judge Sullivan allowed a 14-day stay, which means that the Biden administration would use the 14-day to pack everybody and send them to Haiti.
Assemblywoman, we're going to have to cut you off and leave it there. We are out of time, but thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we will be keeping a close eye on developments at the border. That is going to have to do it for tonight's show. Thanks for watching, and have a great evening. We will see you the next time on Inside City Hall.
Stay connected on the go with the Spectrum News app. Watch your trusted New York One team live wherever you are, and stay updated on